What's up, animators on the internet? I'm Brad for Show, back again with another animation tutorial for you. Because I've been pondering over the past few weeks, sorry for the delay on the uploads by the way. Why am I apologizing? You don't deserve anything. I wanted to talk something that's been on my mind a lot. Trying not to lose my breath because this episode is all about punching. Fight! Playing a lot of fighting games lately and just really enjoying the ability to attack, the jolt, the one thing that separates you from the enemy in your progress to obtain victory. Everybody loves a good wall-up, or everybody loves to watch a good fight scene, right? Whether it be Jackie Chan, Patrick Swayze kicking ass in a bar, Batman delivering the hurt, or our all-American Superman, who's basically Mr. Punch you in the face if you don't behave. That's why we love the third act of Rocky. It's a flurry, an orchestra of punches, heavy impacts and sound effects, even a little camera shake in there. If you didn't remember my first video, click on the link. Haven't you always felt the antagonist deserves a good beating, especially when he's in charge and nobody can touch him? You're anticipating that punch. We want that punch to be solid.
Hit that director in the face really fucking hard.
Ow! Yeah, I feel you less. So let's take it to video games now. Back in the early 80s, it was all about but then my friends, came a game called Double Dragon. God, I love that game. What a simple story. An apocalyptic future. Somebody kidnaps your girlfriend and what do you gotta do? Go and beat the shit out of everybody. But it was all about the combat. We loved those beat 'em ups. Loved those punching games too. Then came Street Fighter. Probably, my opinion, the pinnacle of the fighter genre. The 80s action movies were all about the punches, baby. Mario in 85 did the deadly jumps, crushed and killed everything underneath him. Flash forward to 96, Mario goes 3D, right? What did they give him? A punch, baby. Little after that, you have a game called Smash Brothers. A game like Smash, it's almost illegal not to have punches. And it's not just delivering the punch, but it's also taking a punch too. You look at games like Punch-Out 2, setting up for the tell. How big is the drawback? When is the impact coming? When you get hit, you better be damn sure you don't get hit again. That animation sells. This is dangerous, this is impactful, and you're gonna die. What's gonna keep you interested is good punching animation. How do we do that? How do we manipulate that? How much do we know about a punch? What makes it good? Being an animator, getting assigned a shot like this is very juicy and very fun, but also a challenge. On this episode, I'm gonna help you learn a couple of steps that help me plan out my punch, as well as give the impact to make you feel like you're kicking ass. So without dragging this out too long, let's get into animating, shall we? Punches are very interesting is because they drive from two things: timing and spacing. How fast does the attack happen and over how many frames does that happen? And essentially, we're looking for 5 poses that I like to call the 5. I mean, the Fantastic 5.
Failure.
Number 1, thinking about the fighter's stance. So look at your character as a whole. Who are you choosing? Who are you playing? Who are you working with?
Grappler, hunter, boxer, judo, Rochambeau, cyborg, warrior, wizard, barista, wrestler, soap star, reptar, brawler, ranger, stranger, or an automobile. Take time to establish your pose, your character, what stance they will inherit. Look for both balance and where the weight is. As we see here, I'm just basically looking to see where the hips are connected to the shoulders. Trying to twist and tilt things up a little bit using the tilt and twist technique. Making sure that nothing's too even, too samey, and always pushing things out in space, making the pose a little bit more interesting. And watching the angles as the angles darted towards the opponent. Making sure that my feet are balanced, well placed, very asymmetric.
This pose interprets who this character is, from where the strike will come from, how you will get into it, and end up ultimately going back to center. So think about your proportions, your angles, your dimensions, your shapes, your weight, your balance. All that will be reflected in the personality as well as how you approach this attack. Your fighter stance is key. That is your first pose. Remember that. Number 2, the antic, short for anticipation. Knowing when the attack is coming, supporting the pose. This pose is the drawback, the wind up before the fire, sometimes used a lot in cinema or posters or even statues. You collect statues, you big nerd. There's plenty of them behind the camera there. Anticipation is something that we animators use and are very familiar with, knowing that it is the language that visually speaks to the audience, showing them what action is about to be coming next.
So what I'm looking for is just a nice power line or line of action, making sure my balance is still there, but also pushing the pose in the direction it needs to be going. This time I'll just be adjusting the fist a little bit. I'm trying to make it clear where the fist is in silhouette while spinning the fighter to show the nice arc in the body before throwing the punch. The more anticipation, the heavier and stronger the punch will be.
And the beauty about animation is that we can push that pose. Just like professional wrestling, oh yeah. The bigger, the broader, the more anticipation and the more clear your animation will come through. Number 3, this is the hit pose. This is the pose that your character is impacting. The punch, where is the punch projected? Where is the weight and the heaviness pushing towards? That is your hit pose or your impact frame.
In starting this pose, it's going to be the complete opposite of the anticipation. The weight and the angle is going to be pushing forward. The momentum will be there. I'm not worried about the breakdowns just yet because I'm looking for the change in space. No swipes, slashes, or visual trickery here. This is bare knuckles.
This is about hand to hand.
Only a fool trusts his life to a weapon.
Take it from Gray Fox. That dude was macho. Number 4, the overshoot. Overshoot. Don't forget that. The overshoot is pushing a pose further than where it's supposed to go. Normally with a stretch frame, a bit of more curl or push, pushing the weight, extending the body, breaking the skeleton, so to speak. It's usually saved for one frame within that animation. That's what we call a little bit of polish, but overshoot is essential. This is more of a polish technique, but overshoots are used to embrace that specific key frame and push it further than it can go. You take it from a martial arts legend, Bruce Lee. Don't hit the target, hit through the target. Thanks, Bruce. And that's basically what this is. You are punching through your impact frame. You are exaggerating, extremitizing, and going through to give that beyond final position feeling. That's what's going to give the polish its due.
So when adding the overshoot to the impact pose, in between my punch poses, I'm going to be starting to add some breakdowns. Looking at the body as a whole, where my feet are going to be going. I'm going to have like the foot step out a little bit, make sure that the weight's being properly carried. And also making sure that my foots don't seem to slide too much as far as stepping. Making sure my weight's distributed, same as my punch. I'm kind of taking a playbook from my fist and spacing it out accordingly. I want to make sure that every in-between has a frame. If you let Maya do all the work, it's going to look really nasty. Pushing the line of action and the arc forward is going to give you that impact. I'm paying attention to arms, hips, chest, feet, everything that's moving forward. I want to make sure that all their arcs are correct. The spacing is there, but also making sure nothing's too jittery or too popping out. We want the inner core to feel like it's carrying most of the weight when throwing the punch. I'm paying close attention to where the feet and the toes are, making sure that they're not sliding versus actually pivoting off the toe.
Finally, number 5, which is actually the first pose. And the first pose is become 2. Don't underestimate your idle fight stance.
And taking very careful care of where my weight's being distributed back to idle. I don't want the whole body to come back at the same time looking like a giant in-between, but I want to break up the actions, whether it be in the upper body, the fists, the arms dragging a little longer, or the toe roll pivoting back to idle. Pushing further into polish, I'm checking this fighter's stance from all angles, not just the side. Even though we're reading from the side, it also needs to make sense in world mode as well. One of the big things is to make sure that nothing feels too even when it's going into each pose. Careful, close attention to the hips, making sure that it's spaced correctly, but also carrying the weight on each foot. And in this state, I'm going through each frame, making sure that I'm tracking the fist properly, that it doesn't stand out or pop or strobe too bad. I want to make a clear line of action to understand how my poses are helping this punch. Normally in a punch it could take anywhere between 11 and 13 frames, but I'm careful to make sure that each frame is treated with respect. Everything's working together in order to bring that impact that these poses have started. And now our fighter buddy's ready for action.
That's the power of the punch. That's the feeling that we need to deliver. Payoff is what we want in a good punch. Not a weak punch, not a little tap. We want some impact behind that punch. These poses are what I think about in order to help my animation process, whether I'm animating on the AAA titles or doing my own personal projects at home, specifically 2D as well. And they're always up for interpretation, so I know most of you are like, well, what about this and that? It's just my kind of side, all right? And I'm left-handed, and you all know the story about the one man who lost his left side, right? He's always right. Hey! If you like this video, punch that like button. I'd really appreciate it and it would really help me out. If not, who cares? If not, that's fine too. I love making these videos anyway and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you guys would like to see coming soon. I love interacting with you guys as well as getting feedback on how I can up boost this channel and make my content more punchy. I didn't think I would even make it over 100, but you guys have helped me out. I love you. Thank you so much. Your support means so much to me. Seeing that happen makes me excited and really, really hopeful for the future of bringing more content like this to YouTube. So I really appreciate it. Animation takes a long time. I can't stress that enough, but it's little things like this that help keep me motivated and keep me coming to the future. I really, really appreciate it more than you will ever know. So let me know what you'd like to see in the future. Punch that like, punch that subscribe, punch the bell, punch those comments. So I'm Brad for show. Thank you so much for watching. And above all, if not anything, the most important animation secret ever. Keep